to stand up when we're.
We may have a few more committee members roll in, but I want to welcome you to the Higher Ed Subcommittee meeting, and we're going to be taking up and going over the amended 2024 budget. Thank you for attending. Great crowd out there. We really appreciate everyone showing up today, and I know we've got some great things that are going on. Not too much action, I would say, in the amended budget, but very excited of what's going on in Georgia as far as higher education, and really excited about what we're going to see this year. But we'll start off with the amended budget. And first on our list is Chancellor Sonny Perdue with the USG. And Chancellor, if you'll come up and maybe go over some of the changes and any of the exciting things that you would like to share with us in regards to our budget.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to try to wow you with slides today. Just talk about the numbers in here. And thank you and the members for your interest in higher education. And as I've bragged about you all before, the legislature and the governor have done a great job investing in higher education in Georgia, and we're grateful for it, and the students of Georgia are grateful for it. Well, we've got some significant ask in the recommendations in the amended budget that we want to talk about here today, and the changes really can be found on page 62 to 64 of your tracking document. But I think your members have got a one-pager that I'll speak from today, the recommendations from USG, and I think this first adjustment's reflected in all of those, but I'm going to talk about the agency as a whole, not programmatically in that way. You'll see, obviously, the first large number is the COLA that was already awarded. So as I joked in the appropriations here, and I sure hope you all approve it because it's going to be hard to get it back. But that's $52 million among all of ours. I would remind you again that not all of our employees are entitled, and about 15% are not, and that does have a cost for our institutions to make that up if they choose to have parity with their eligible employees as well. So many of those 15% are not included under that, but it's $52 million for those who are included. And I see the line item for Georgia Research Alliance, and I'm frankly am glad to see that. It was something I had supported as governor, and I can tell you from a return on investment with our eminent scholars, it's been a great benefit for Georgia universities, and we've got our money's worth there, and I hope you all will see fit to approve that for the Georgia Research Alliance. That obviously is just a pass-through. None of our institutions get any resources from that, but it goes directly to the Georgia Research Alliance and hiring eminent scholars, where that's the real benefit as they bring their teams and their research to the state, and the return has been multifold over that as well. I'm going to skip down. Obviously, you can see some of the reductions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about. I'm just really kind of going with the big numbers with zeros behind them today, but I think all of us are aware about last session on the $66 million that was taken out of the funding budget, the student numbers, that way formula funding. I certainly appreciated the House's action on that last session, and hope you'll continue to support that as well. We're meeting with your colleagues across the aisle and in the Senate and across the Capitol there, and trying to persuade them that some of our smaller institutions were really hurt most significantly by that $66 million. We'd love to see that restored in the amended this year, and as well as the 25 budget that we'll have later. And then I will call your attention to Fort Valley State. Georgia has done a great job in matching the land grant appropriations for that. Unlike when I was secretary, I'd go to some states and hear complaints. Obviously, their states had not matched that federal award for the land grant for their HBCUs, but this $824,000 matches that land grant obligation that we have from the federal government. So those are really the operational changes that we see in the amended budget. I will speak to the capital budget and those other things going forward. The ERP, $88 million. That's a lot of money, but we've got about 22 different student information systems out of 26 institutions. As we try to create dashboards and comparisons that way, it makes it extremely difficult. Excuse me, that's on, it's really going to find it in the GTA budget, so it won't be here in our budget, but the $88 million will be in the GTA budget, and I would ask certainly your support of that as we begin to design an integrated resource planning protocol, as will the state as well, the whole state for. Then you are aware of the governor's recommendation of $178 million to design and construct and equip the dental school as a partnership campus from the Dental College of Georgia and Augusta to the Georgia Southern Campus in Savannah. I've got a lot of numbers I could share with you about the need for dentists and where we're lacking in dentists and where we rank nationally. I'd be happy to share that with you if you have questions, but we appreciate that recommendation from the governor as well. Next, you see the $50 million as a recommendation for the design and construction of the medical school at the University of Georgia. The University of Georgia has had a partnership with MCG for about 12, maybe longer than that, Houston, years that way. That was actually started when I was governor in that way. That partnership has gone well. They did a survey and at a consultancy to about seeking independent accreditation. The partnership campus in Athens has worked off of the MCG's accreditation for all these years. It's a natural type of progression. I think it's probably the longest partnership agreement in the country there, and they would like to seek independent medical accreditation from LCME. And we've got some great facilities out at the medical campus there in Athens. It was the old Navy school, and that transpired during the BRAC hearings. We got a lot of good facilities. They've done a great job out there, but I think having an independent medical school, Georgia's one of, if you look at the numbers, I could share those with you too. It's not a very good record that we in Georgia have for medical education here, and we'd like to improve that as well, and that will allow them to do that. Obviously, $80 million more in MR&R. They're always, with the number of campuses and the square footage we have, there's always a need for increased maintenance and rehabilitation, reconstruction. And as well, we're focusing really on demolition as well. You'll see some money in there about demolition in that way. We want to make sure we've been bragged on about the space utilization. We want to continue to make sure the space that you all appropriate for is being used well, and that is not being used, we demolish it so it doesn't continue to earn square foot formula dollars in that way. So that's what that is. You'll see the demolition on the next line there at 1.229 in that regard. And then the B units, of which you all usually are very engaged in, there's a list of those in details that way, but it's about $15.893 million, and that accounts for the $413 million in capital ask in the amended budget. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions or do my best to answer any that you've got or any of your members have.
Thank you, Chancellor. Really appreciate what's going on with the USG and some of the exciting things that are happening. Just a couple of comments. I know with the Georgia Research Alliance, we continue to overtake some of the other universities around the country as far as our R&D and the where we rank as far as our research within our USG institutions, our research institutions. That's great. It's part of what's driving, I think, a continuing growing Georgia is the investment that we've made there.
No question about it. And the eminent scholars have been a huge part of that. They're actually bringing teams and research dollars that far outpaces the appropriation that we give to them. So we've been able to attract some very impressive scholars. We could name several of them, but I'd be happy to give you great examples of how those dollars are being used. We got a couple over at MCG now. They're doing some amazing research in cancer and immunology in that way as well.
Well, we appreciate the continued investment. And one other comment, I think it's very exciting. And again, we know from a state perspective, Georgia's a growing state. Also, we know its demographics of a lot of our population is aging. And we all need doctors. And I think this is a great step as we invest in both the medical school and this new dental school towards our goal and mission of making sure we have more physicians in practice here in Georgia. I know that's a complicated issue to put out, but that certainly is going to help meet the demand of the state.
Well, we hope so. The Medical College of Georgia for almost 200 years now has done an amazing job providing physicians and medical research in Augusta, and they will continue to do that. This is an opportunity to grow the pie rather than slicing it up, and that's exactly the purpose that we're trying to extend this opportunity in Athens to do that. You know, last year you all were helpful in the WellStar partnership that, again, potentially may bring a Medical College Georgia campus here to the metro area in North Atlanta. And those are all important because we don't need to be last in that statistic, and that's frankly where we rank with those who have public medical education now.
Well, and one last comment. I know we've heard a lot of the need coming in here, and this may be something we talk about maybe in our big budget, but that growing need for more more physicians, not only physicians, dentists, but in the future as we more people to fill those critical areas in healthcare, and a good opportunity to talk about what we're doing in the state of Georgia to meet those needs that we hear often.
That's a good point, Mr. Chairman. Healthcare in general, not just medical or dental, but certainly nurses, and we know that we need more nurses in that way, and we're bearing down over the effort of how well we're doing at each institution. They have nursing programs in that way. We've had a study on that, and we're progressing in the things that will actually help us to get more nurses on the floor than we've had before.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chancellor, and maybe we can get more into that because I know it's an important topic as we get into next year of the big budget. So, with that, Chancellor, you got a few minutes. We've got a couple of questions here. Okay. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chancellor, thank you for being here. I have a question, a comment, and then another question. The question on the enterprise, the ERP system, this is something that you're working with GTA on, and it'll be deployed. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be your best practice kind of cloud-based sort of system. But just going back to last year, this includes the design, kind of implementation, seat license, all of this thing, and there'll be some annual costs, but this is just a startup cost, correct?
That is true, Chairman. It's going to be an ongoing process. These software changes are not simple. It won't be this next year. This is really a beginning. I don't expect this kind of money necessarily in the future at this level, but there will be some additional requests going on in order for the implementation. But the first two stages operate on financials and human resources, HR issues. Then my vision is really to have an integrated student accounting system so we can provide better students services to our students and their parents in that way.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you doing that. I mean, that's a forward-looking thing, and it's good the state's in a position to be able to do that. This is sort of the comment I want to make. I don't know if you're aware of it, but I want to, I guess, thank the USG for this. Rolled out starting in 2022, the completion grants. And you may or may not be aware, but USG. I'm a Georgia grad. Sorry for all the other components of the system. I intermingle those sometimes, but the university
we're teammates,
system of Georgia,
not competitors.
That is correct. We're collaboration, as it were, right? But USG was very involved in that completion grant process, and I just want to brag on you guys a bit. Of the hours attempted, 26,000 hours were attempted. Of that, almost 95% was earned. The people that we were trying to help over the finish line. There were some failures. That's going to happen. There were some that were withdrawn and some that were incomplete. Things happen in life. But I don't know that we have another, program where we're investing in our students to get them across the finish line that's 95% successful. And I just wanted to thank your institutions that have engaged in that. I know some, have engaged a bit more fully than others because they didn't fully know about it. But I think that does well at a higher level. So about $7.2 million was put in that. I think we helped 3,500 or so people get a credential and degree. So your folks did extra work because that wasn't on them before that completion grant went in. So all the financial offices picked that up and did that for the students without getting any more budget money, and I appreciate that. I think that is something that when we do more, I forget exactly how you say it, Mr. Chancellor, but it's something along the lines, I say the same or more for the same or less. Your folks did more for our students with about the same amount of money, and I'm thankful for that.
Well, we appreciate your personal interest in that and understanding. Sometimes it's not that big dollars, but it's just a small dollar to help them get to completion. And our retention, we're focusing still based on the investment that you all make in higher education. We're focused on affordability and retention and completion because we got a lot of Georgians that have had some college but don't get to finish, and they can't put that diploma on their resume once they do. So it's very important that we get them to the finish line.
Yes, sir. And this, Mr. Chairman, is a bit of a question of personal privilege. If I didn't ask, I'd go home and worry about it. I hope that the vet school at the University of Georgia is still doing well. And I'm asking because I usually do that on behalf of Dr. Jan Hines, who, Ms. Chancellor, you and I both know when we lost up in Alpharetta this year. He loved his degree from the Georgia Vet School the Veterinarian School of Georgia, and so I hope you guys are doing well. I know there's been some investment in that recently, and they're still doing good work, both large animal veterinarians and small. So the question is, for Dr. Jan Hines, although he left us this past year, is how is that doing over there?
Dr. Hines was a consummate veterinarian that I admired and tried to be a mentor to me, but the one good thing about the Georgia Veterinary School is it's taking a One Health philosophy. We may not like to acknowledge it, but we share a lot of the same issues as humans do with the health of animals. And they're doing research over things that lead to discoveries in human health that will be significant. So that's the thing we ought to be proud of. They've recently, you talked about research grants. The veterinary school has recently earned some research grants dealing with the One Health philosophy that will make a difference in our lives as well as our animals' lives.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, Representative Stinson. I got to get used to that.
Yeah. Who is that?
That is the Strawberry Queen. That's who it is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chancellor, for being here and presenting. And thank you for you and your team doing such great work in the times that you've honored my request to meet with you. I do appreciate that. But today, can you share with a little about the budget request, the amended budget request, how any of this is going to impact Fort Valley State University, Savannah State University, Albany State University, and Georgia Southwestern State University?
Yes, well, you see specifically the line item that goes to Fort Valley State. That's the governor's, the state's, Georgia's obligation for the land grant match that the federal government gives for the land grant mission for Fort Valley State. Obviously, the big numbers are there that you all have already funded generally. Fort Valley State, Savannah, Albany, and others would certainly benefit from that $66 million, back in there. But the fact is we are working with all of them, and we've got great things going on at each institution. Obviously, all three are unique in their own missions, but things are going well there. So we look forward to working with all of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last, Representative Lott.
Thank you, sir, for being here with us today. But I did have a question concerning, I know in healthcare it's a time now of mergers and partnerships. And I know that the Medical College of Georgia, of course, has had that partnership in Athens for the medical school for 12 years. So my question is, when most of healthcare is merging, and in this case, we are not merging. We are now trying to divide and kind of prop up a new program entirely. Is there something that can be done as a new program and an individual program that could not have been done had we just grown the existing partnership?
Well, yes, the difficulty in doing that in trying to seek independent accreditation allows them to increase their NIH funding at that institution as well as growing it in Augusta. You know, last year we had a huge partnership for healthcare, and you supported the WellStar, thankfully, partnership there that helps to create a statewide partnership with WellStar and MCG. This independent accreditation there at Athens also will allow us to double. When we're 41 out of 41, it's evident that we don't have enough physicians being graduated. The other thing is we also need to increase our graduate medical education slots. That's the real holdback as well here in Georgia. So we got to focus on that as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, Chancellor, thank you
Yes.
for coming today. We appreciate there's some good news, I think, in this amended budget, and we look forward to talking to you also about good things that I think are coming in the big budget. And we really appreciate what you've done, what the USG does, and what all of our institutions of higher education do, and how important it is to this state and what it means to this the growing Georgia, and what it means to our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the chairman should have the last word. Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I think you all ought to be really proud of this Georgia Match program. This is reaching kids that somebody may have told them in the middle school, you're not college material. They're getting a letter in the mail saying you've got a spot at a certain institution. Pick your spot, and then they apply. And we're already seeing harvesting there from kids. It's 40% of high school kids that don't go anywhere after high school. We're seeing them reach out and get further education, which will again contribute to the more educated Georgia and a growing Georgia through economic development. So thank you.
And Chancellor, that may be a good segue into something that we may want to dig into in our full hearing on the 25 budget to give a little more detail to maybe some of the members and constituents and the public out there of that program and the hopes of it being as successful as we've seen so far.
And I want to give thanks and credit to our friend Lynn Riley, who you'll hear from later, in the Georgia Student Finance. We're huge partners, as was GOSA and TCSG and the Department of Education. It's been an education-wide purpose there in Georgia, and we're great to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chancellor. All right, Liam. All right. And next, we're going to invite Lynn Riley, the president of the Georgia Student Finance Commission. Lynn, if you'll come and share with us, any of the exciting things that certainly pertain to the amended budget, we'll appreciate that, and any changes, and then we'll see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, and thank you very much, Chancellor. I know he's got other places to be, but I'm very grateful for the university system's participation in the Georgia Match program, and Chairman, your acknowledgement of the dramatic impact it is having and will have on our workforce in the state of Georgia. I'm going to work today on the amended 24 budget from the House tracking sheet for House Bill 915. And on page 5, I'll start. The first item is college completion grants. And as Chairman Martin has referenced, we've had some good success in its first year, and we see it growing in its second year. The amended budget recommends a $2 million reduction from the $12 million that was in the original budget. That was a part of Governor Kemp's budget direction at budget signing last year. So the budget for amended 24 is $10 million, not the $12 million as originally had been approved. Commission administration, similar to the Chancellor's comments, the $1,000 salary supplement for all of our valued personnel of $120,000 is included in the amended 24 budget, and we're very grateful for that opportunity that was provided to the hardworking folks that are helping our Georgia students. 44.3 is dual enrollment, and the amended budget is recommending $12.3 million addition to bring the total up to $88.5 million for the amended 24 budget. We have seen dramatic growth in the dual enrollment program in FY 2024. We weren't anticipating it to skyrocket as quickly as it has, but it's really exciting to see our students taking advantage of it, and so we will probably get right about that dollar amount at year end, and hopefully that'll be sufficient for all of the students that are taking advantage of it. 44.9 is our next budget adjustment for amended 2024. That's the Hope Scholarship for private schools. The recommended budget is a reduction of $16.7 million. That was also included in the governor's budget disregard and language for 24. That reduced the original appropriation and reduced or adjusted the award rates for private schools for the FY 2024 year. The next change is on page 6, 44.17, service cancelable loans. The amended budget recommends a reduction of $3.2 million. This is in line with House Bill 130 that was not adopted in the last year's session that would have provided funds for public law enforcement officer loan repayment programs. The final change in our amended 24 budget is to our attached agency, the Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission, lines 44.19.1 and .2. The Executive Director, Kirk Shook, is here in the audience today if you have any specific questions. Just under $10,000 in the Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission is for the $1,000 salary supplement, and a $20,000 add is provided to upgrade the Commission's online database management system. Mr. Chairman, those are all the changes for the amended 24 budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Riley, I think we got one. Chairman Martin.
And thank you, Commissioner. Probably wiser minds have already gone through this, but I'm going to ask it just to be clear. The 44.17.1 reduce the funds for the public law enforcement. That bill didn't pass in the 23 session. It is still in play, and I think it's better, more likely than not, that will make its way through the legislative process and be signed this year. Again, I don't want to speak for my colleagues in the Senate, but I think it's more likely than not. The question is, should that happen quickly, is it possible that you would need any of that money, but you will not need it before the end of this fiscal year, even if that were to pass and pass quickly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, we would not be able to spin up the program until next year. I will say that the Senate Higher Education Committee is meeting on Wednesday, and that bill is calendared for hearing, House Bill 130, so it does appear that it will be given consideration fairly quickly this year.
I felt like that was the case. I just wanted to make sure that it had been thought through, that should it move quickly through the system, you would not need it before June 30, and you will not. Thank
Student
you.
finance would need some time to develop the regulations and do the advertising to the potential recipients. We envision that it could potentially be available for them as soon as January of 2025.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Then I have one, just out of curiosity. I mean, we did have a as you said, a very large jump, a skyrocketing jump in dual enrollment. And if you don't have, specifics off your mind, maybe we can talk about it later. Just curious. I mean, anything that jumps out, just top of your head as far as what may be driving
Certainly.
that big increase.
Thank you for that question. We believe a lot of it has to do with the ability for the technical colleges to provide those courses that are more hands-on and less online deliverable, if you will. But we've seen in all sectors, the USG, TCSG, and the private sector, growth consistent with prior to the implementation of changes to the program in 2020. I think the students have realized that it's an amazing deal to have 30 hours of college credit paid in full in high school, and I think they've recognized the value.
Great. All right. Any other questions from the committee? Well, thank you, Lynn, once again, and appreciate what you do and the effort. And again, it's a team effort. What we've got going on in Georgia with higher education, and your department is certainly a big key and part of that. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Our next presenter will be Kurt Schuch, the Executive Director for the Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I will be brief. As President Riley mentioned, we are administratively attached to her agency, but I want to make sure you folks understand what we do. We're the state agency that regulates all the private colleges, and I'll get into more detail about what that means in the FY25 budget presentation. I think that's what Molly said. We'd have opportunity to do that. We have two line items for your consideration here for your review. As Lynn had mentioned earlier, 44.19.1, which is the other agencies are coming before you, is a $1,000 salary supplement. And then the last line item is 44.19.2. That is funds to upgrade our technology system. So just to give you a little bit of insight, most of our workforce is working remotely, but at the same time, this is all institutions, whether they are authorized or exempt by our agency, have to use this platform. And so we've gone a couple of years without any upgrades to the system just due to lack of budget funds. So this is an opportunity for us to increase making it more user-friendly for the members of the public who interact with us, as well as for our staff to do that, and also just make some updates overall to the system to allow it to do some things that it can't do now. And one of those things in particular is looking at creating an expedited or accelerated application system for initial applicants. So one of the things that we're looking to do that came about as part of the workforce discussions is how we can use our agency to potentially help to address some of the workforce shortages through the private sector educational opportunities that are out there. So those are just some of the ideas that we're looking to do here, but I will take any specific questions that you have on our budget or our plans.
We'll break his streak here. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Go ahead.
He always asks questions all the time. So.
And sometimes they're good questions.
Yeah, sometimes.
I
well, in the case of something comes up for his committee, they're always good questions.
Absolutely. There you go. We appreciate it. And again, there'll be more opportunity in the full, for the 25 budget to dig down into some items. We want to hurry up and, again, look at the amended budget today. So we certainly appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioner Dozier, Technical College System, Georgia. I know there's not much going on, is there? Nothing going on. Just trying to keep up, right?
Yes,
Tread
sir.
water and keep our head above water with all the good things that are going on in Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. It is an honor to come before you, and it's really an honor, as you just mentioned, to really brag on the hard works of the 22 colleges and the presidents and the partnerships across all of our educational entities. As the Chancellor said, and as President Riley mentioned, I think Georgia Match is a great example of how when you come together, there's really a lot of good that comes out of that. So thank you to President Riley and Andy over there especially as he led Georgia Match. And we're seeing those benefits too. So very, very excited about it. As you know, our mission is to recruit and grow a globally competitive workforce for this state. And we take that very serious. And we take it so serious that our vision really gets down into the granular part of making sure that each one of our citizens have that opportunity to have economic prosperity. And by doing that, we focus on high demand, high value career credentials that provide a return on that investment. And so when we look on page 8 of your tracking sheet for House Bill 915 in Section 46, you see 6 different programs. I mentioned in the Joint Appropriation Committee that we have 5 pillars of our future workforce. When you see the 6 programs, those 5 are evident: adult education, economic development and customized services, quick start, technical education, workforce development are those 5. And then we have a 6th program, which is departmental administration, which obviously supports those 5 across our system. When we look at the items that are in the supplemental budget, I'll start with your sheet and just go down in order. Our first program is 46.1, which is adult education. There's one item in there, and that is the $1,000 salary supplement. You'll see in that one program, it costs $334,792. When you add all of those programs up, since you don't have a total, just to let you know what that $1,000 supplement costs, is $6.7 million. So as we go through that, that's what the total is. Section 46.2 is departmental administration. The only item in there is the $1,000 supplement. We just talked about it. Section 3 is economic development and customized service. The only item in there is the $1,000 supplement. Section 46.4 Quick Start begins with items outside of the supplement. The first item is the $1,000 supplement for $80,000. The second item, which is 46.4.2, is a $10.25 million item to complete the Rivian Training Center. Just to remind this group, I'm sure you do remember, last year one of the last items as we're closing out session through the Appropriation Act was looking at this training facility. It was trimmed back from the total cost with a discussion of coming back and fully funding it in the supplemental. And so that money was cut back $10.25 million to get the 46 in there so we could start that process with the intention of coming in the supplemental and fully funding it. The 10.25 fully funds that facility. Just to remind you, it mirrors the same cost of the training facility that is being built for Hyundai down in Bryan County. 46.4.3 is the third item under Quick Start, and it's to increase the existing operations of Quick Start. That item is $4,754,337. That's basically to support all the others. When you think about the last 3 years, just talking about jobs that have come to Georgia that exclude the Hyundai and Rivian, in 21 there was over 17,000 jobs, in 22 over 15,000, and in 23 over 25,000. Those are jobs that Quick Start are providing services to. Some of those big names, just to remind you, SK On was one of those big ones. Q Sales was one of those. And so this $4.7 million provides additional space to do the training, but also the funding to hire the curriculum writers, the developers, the trainers for those jobs that this state has brought in. This is greatly needed and really needed to provide the services that we promised these companies. As you look at the next section, 46.5, which is technical education, obviously our largest area in the budget. When you look at our $540 million, $421 million is in this one area, which is how it should be. We're very proud. We shared a lot of the results in the global committee. I won't go through all of them, but just a quick reminder is we had a 3.8% increase in headcount, 3% increase in credit hours for last year in our credit training. The current fall over fall is just under 10%. But when you dive into those two numbers, we're really doing a great job. Our counselors are out there of making sure we guide students toward the high-paying, high-demand career fields. And so while you heard a 3% growth and a 9% growth, you were seeing 13% growth in that high demand this fall over fall. So people are finding their way back to our technical colleges, and they're finding their way back to the jobs that actually have a high demand in your communities. When we look at the items in there, the first item is that $1,000 salary increase at a little over $5.8 million. The second item is to provide funding for 3 workforce accelerator systems. We've been calling them WHAMs. Everything in state government has to have some type of acronym. But it really does fit here. When you look at it, these are going to be accelerators in the area of e-mobility and advanced manufacturing. They're going to provide training such as advanced manufacturing, industrial mechanics, EV automotive, EV infrastructure, industrial electronics, hydrogen training, and many, many other things. This will be broken down into 3 different centers. There'll be one at Chat Tech's campus in the Chat Technical College in the Ackworth campus, North Georgia Technical College, West Georgia Technical College, in the LaGrange campus, and Central Georgia Tech in the Milledgeville campus, 3 of them. Each of those will receive $6.5 million of the $19.5, broken down for $3 million for renovation and $3.5 million for equipment. The last item in this area is to reduce funds to align the budget with expenditures, $1.1 million. What that is that's the tools for success. That was an item this body put in last session that was disregarded based on a concern around constitutionality of providing funding or gratuity to students who had already left. And so that's the removal of the $1.1 million that was related to tools for success last session. The last program we have is workforce development. The first item, 46.6.1, is the $1,000 salary supplement. The second item, 46.6.2, is the startup funding, $10,000 for consultation and technical assistance to healthcare partners across this state. Just a reminder, last year the House, through Chairman Parrish, had recommended a recommendation to the healthcare workforce the prior year, task force. That item was to hire 2 people with the technical college system, have a quick start type approach toward healthcare, working across the state to identify needs and shortcomings and provide guidance to TCSG, but also to this body to shore up our medical field. This $10,000 is the startup funding for it, but you'll see in the big budget the actual funding for the 2 positions. And Mr. Chairman, that came from Chairman Parrish last session. Mr. Chairman, those are the items in our supplemental budget. Be happy to answer any of these questions or anything else you or the committee may have.
All right. Thank you for what you do. I know, again, Georgia continues to grow, and as I've said it before, the technical college system is uniquely qualified and positioned to make sure that it's there to support the education and providing that workforce that's needed. So we got to make sure that we're moving in a good direction and making sure we're providing you with the ability to be successful in that venture. So we appreciate what you're doing. We do have a question, Chairman Martin.
At the risk of being admonished by my chairman, I didn't want to go without saying thank you as I did to the chancellor. Really great success in the completion grants. I know that's one thing we want to try to get down and get the completion down to 45% for your 2-year programs. But when the people were able to use them, you were right at 95% success rate as well. So I just
Thank
wanted to thank you for all the folks again at the university or at your colleges as well as the university system that got the money to the students, and when we did that, it was successful.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner, thank you again. Again, we'll get into probably some more detail as we get into the 25 budget. Again, I want to hear more about this match program. I know that along with USG and technical college system and Lynn Riley, y'all have done a great job, and I look forward to hearing more about that, and maybe even using a little bit of our time here to make sure that we're really, really putting out what we're doing and educating people on this new initiative. So
Well, we look forward to that, and I have to say the governor and you guys and Lynn and the team really were forward thinking, having a true statewide approach compared to other states.
well, we always do it, Georgia.
That's right.
I think that's why Georgia's successful. So again, to the governor and to you guys, thank you for what you've done. If there are no more questions, I think that's it. I know it's a pretty short meeting with the amended 24 budget, and I appreciate the attendance, and we will adjourn the meeting.